This is Running Through History with Nick Johnson. We're at our first location, Cabrillo Playhouse in San Clemente. Our second location is Camino Real Playhouse in San Juan. So yes, we're running from San Clemente to San Juan in one day, 2 locations. Let's get started. There is some awesome history here at Cabrillo Playhouse. First of all, I've done a show here, Rocky Horror Picture Show 2019. I was Rocky, obviously, because I'm super fit. The sword of Damocles is hanging over my head. Also, in 1953, the San Clemente Community Theater Corporation was founded. Now, in 1966, that same corporation finally found their spot in San Clemente called the Cabrillo Playhouse. There's a few commonalities between the Cabrillo Playhouse and the Camino Real Playhouse. They're both in Southern California, they're both community theaters, they're both Adobes, and they were both re-renovated to become the theater that they are today. They had to build the seats, the stage, the backstage, and the dressing rooms. Cabrillo Playhouse is actually a house. It was William J. Barry's house. He was the first city clerk of San Clemente. The first play here at Cabrillo Playhouse in 1966 was Bell, Book and Candle. Ray Duncan and an NBC crew helped televise the event. This is the front porch. This is the front door where the audience will come in, they'll take their seat, they'll enjoy the show, and afterwards you get to see the actors. Come back here through a beautiful garden. You'll say, thank you, I loved it, I want to come to the next one. You give them flowers, and if they're your loved ones, you give them hugs and kisses, and you tell them you love them, and then you get to do that all right here. The actors will come out of this front door right here. Thank you so much for coming. I love performing. I love putting smiles on everyone's faces and laughter in their bellies. Are those flowers for me, Tommy? Tommy, you're the best. Now that's just a taste of how awesome Cabrillo Playhouse is. You really should come see a show, buy tickets online, CabrilloPlayhouse.com. Come to this garden, say hello to your favorite actors and actresses, bring them flowers, stand on this porch, the front porch of Cabrillo Playhouse, built in 1928, and walk through these front doors and enjoy a show. This is Running Through History with Nick Johnson. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you know when I make another episode. All right, guys, that concludes our first location, Cabrillo Playhouse. Now we're off to our second location, Camino Real Playhouse in San Juan. I've got my Under Armour shoes. They track my location, cadence, and speed. So we're gonna get there real fast. Let's go. anniversary, guys. We're at Camino Real Playhouse. Our founder, Tom Scott, is going to be having a full tour with us today. He founded it in 1989 with his wife, BJ Scott. Now, this Adobe used to be owned by San Juan Capistrano City up until Tom Scott asked for permission to use it as a theater in 1991. He got permission to use the Adobe as a theater, but was only given 1/3 at a time, being that most of it, if not all of the Adobe, was rendered useless and had structural issues. So he was only able to have 1/3 at a time as they built and fixed 1/3 at a time. The first third, our main theater, you'll see, is basically this whole front right here. You walk in, you have the concession stand, you have the theater right behind it, and the ending of his first third is roughly where the scenic shop is. Isn't this a cool horse? Camino Real Playhouse is starting their 30th year. They started in 1989. It's 2019. We're gonna have a party. The Camino Real Playhouse hosts for youth, teens, and young adults acting classes at the Capistrano Acting Academy here at Camino Real Playhouse. The Camino Real Playhouse also hosts comedy nights. Come check them out if you like to laugh. I like to laugh. Let's all laugh together. Let's head on in and talk to Tom Scott himself, the founder of Camino Real Playhouse, and have a wonderful interview of the entire Adobe right now. Friendly reminder, guys, like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time Nick Johnston, Running Through History, posts a video. This is Camino Real Playhouse. Let's go talk to Tom Scott himself right now, have a full tour. This is gonna be fun.
I mentioned to you that my partner in crime in the last 15, 17 years was Beverly Blake, Beverly Blake. Beverly is our scenic artist. She's our vice president, and also, although it's an unofficial title, we also call her our chief financial officer. She's the one who looks over everything for finances as well, make sure that everything is all kosher. We have her picture here. This was painted by one of our patrons, and that's Beverly, hard at work, painting the set. Just a key volunteer and a key member making everything happen nowadays. He also painted a picture of me over there. That's my Will Rogers costume for when I do Will Rogers as a one-man show, biodrama of Will Rogers. So she does the artwork for each season with these brochures. The 2020-21 season. We have the lobby here, and we have the concession set up. And we serve beer and wine, soft drinks, cookies, snacks, things like that. So we have pre-show and intermission. So folks get here as much as an hour before the show and meet their friends, and they'll stand around, have a glass of wine, and chat and talk. So it makes it kind of a special social event for the people as well. And of course, we have it decorated right now for our Christmas show, which just closed very successfully.
This bell?
Oh, yeah. One of our artists brought this in. This is in fact ceramic. It looks like it's metal, but it's ceramic, and that it's just an artwork that they found a perfect little corner for.
Yeah. It's supposed to represent the Capistrano.
I guess
bell?
it could very well be the mission bell. It looks like it with the leather strap around it. Yeah. I should also mention that every show we feature a different artist here in the lobby.
Oh,
and
nice.
We have one of our people that we call our curator, and every show she comes in and swaps things out. So what we have here now is the Christmas, and so she'll be coming in soon and swapping it out and putting in another set of shows.
I love it.
Right now it's set up almost in a black box mode for our show coming up, which is Show Off. And Show Off is something I started a number of years ago. It's a playwriting contest, and we get about 200 10-minute plays submitted, literally from all over the world, mostly from the US, but we will get some from Australia, New Zealand, England. And then we go through a blind reading screening process with different teams. so that there's different teams, and each play gets read multiple times, and ultimately end up with 7 plays that we produce out of the 200 submitted. And then the audience votes on their favorite as we do the shows. And at the last show, we announce the top 3 winners. We do this with everything just black, and those flats then get rolled around and make wings on the side.
It really puts emphasis on the script too,
Oh, yeah.
which is what we're critiquing.
Exactly.
That's an annual show-off?
Yeah, we do that every year. It's an opportunity for us to not only introduce the audience to new works, but also to give the playwrights an opportunity to show off.
How many seats does this hold?
We are technically an 88-seat theater.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people. So that's our next show coming up, Show Off. And then I built these rooms, and behind that wall is a very large costume shop.
And this is the first or second, third of the Adobe that you got from the city?
Yeah, well, the building itself, front of the building, is an old, I believe it was a feed store from looking at the history of the building. And it was just this, the sloped roof, straight walls, that sort of thing. And then when Pacific Bell bought the property, they did one build over that. And then they did 2 successive builds on it. But that is mostly visible in the exterior, except if you're acquainted with the architecture inside the building, you can see where the steel beams go. The Pacific Bell did basically in 3 sections then. When we first got into the building, it was literally a derelict building that the city had purchased with the intention of tearing it down, and they were going to redevelop this whole area. That didn't happen, and the building sat empty for a long time. So when they let us use it, we got about the first third, little less than half of the building that we could be in. And then we just started cleaning and chased out the rats and pulled up the carpeting.
And in order to use this Adobe, you had to take on all the responsibility of doing this. That's kind of why you did this, because you had to in order to build the theater.
The city has been very generous in letting us use the building, but the city has never paid anything to us. We pay the property taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, everything. We take care of that.
Getting everything up to code.
Yeah. And I'm very conscientious about that, particularly anything that might be fire code, just because theaters are traditionally risky for that, and I just try to make sure that everything, particularly our electrical, is all very much squeaky clean to code. And we get the fire inspectors in here periodically.
Good.
Interestingly, because we're close to the fire department, and this is a large public assembly building, every once in a while they'll bring their fire crew over, and I'll just give them carte blanche to go through the building, and they go up on the roof and go through explaining how the structure works, where they would chop holes if there was a fire, that sort of thing. It's kind of fun to be a training facility for the firemen too. Our scene shop, virtually everything that we do, we build in here. A couple of years ago, we did It's a Wonderful Life, and I played Mr. Potter.
Oh, wow.
We have the Pottersville sign there. I pulled that out.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've been building sets for 30 years.
Yeah. In high school, I was in the theater program. I acted in the shows, but I've always been good with tools, and so I would help with the sets even in high school. We also do stand-up comedy every month, and in January, a weatherman coming down to see us. It's pictures out here, and then we set up cabaret tables around, so it's almost like a nightclub atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's very good.
That's once a month?
Yeah. Fritz Coleman is coming in. He's a great headliner. As a matter of fact, when he comes in, we used to do 2 shows. We now do 3 shows.
Nice. January 11th?
Yeah.
I'll probably be here.
Let me know. It's probably sold out, but I'll squeeze you in.
Yeah.
And this is the green room for the comedians. And then whenever we do shows, this is where we set up props and change costumes and stuff like that.
Bunch of cool books.
Yeah, those were on the set
Yeah.
for the Christmas show. Wonderful piano here is goes on stage and looks like a piano. Last used in Charlie Brown by another theater group. I loan all kinds of stuff to other theater. Anything in here when another theater's doing a show, they call and say, "Tom, do you have a?" And they probably do. So, well, this is our Santa chair here.
Santa chair.
Every year, this goes to. It goes 3 or 4 different places. And there's
That's really cool.
that was from Murder on the Nile.
Murder on the Nile.
Beverly painted those. They were the 3 pillars that were on the ship for Murder on the Nile.
That is detail.
Yeah. She's our scenic artist, and she does a superb job with that.
That must have been fun to paint and the show.
It was wonderful on the set.
Good. You have a lot of volunteers?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an all-volunteer organization. This is a Greek theater device. It's called a periactoi. And periactoi. And it you can have it like this. Usually you have 3 of them on stage. I think I've got 4 or 5 here now. And then you just rotate it. The third return, you get a different
That's
scene.
super cool.
And then rotate it again, and you'll have something else. And they're really, really handy on stage. And we use the youth program uses these a lot because they're easy for the kids to do, and they typically will
You can change scenes real quick.
Yeah, and they typically do a show every week. When we do the summer camps, they're 1-week camps, so they come in the morning. We take them from 0 to productions in 5 days, but that makes it real easy for them to just flip around. Somebody can just paint pictures on it, and it makes a new scene.
Wow. They learn all their lines in 5 days?
Oh, yeah. And
I'm in the jungle.
Yeah, got the jungle there. Our version of the Tonys we do in August, and we call it Camino Bations.
That's funny. Communications.
Camino Bations.
How long has it taken you? Obviously about 30 years to accumulate this, but...
Well, actually, most of this stuff was accumulated in the first 5 or 6 years.
Really?
And periodically we go through it and purge it. And this is our very first seasons, and we weren't even in the theater yet. This was I think this might have been the very first show we did in here. It was a one-man show that I wrote and performed.
What is your favorite show that you've done?
Oh gosh, I think probably Dracula was extremely well done. And that's one that everybody knows. There are quite a few others that were really, really good, but Dracula was an excellent show. I really don't have any particular show that I would say is a favorite. I've really enjoyed them all.
Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's
too.
a fun one.
Yeah, that was.
Rocky Horror Picture Show?
We did Rocky Horror too, yeah.
So San Juan's Dirty Laundry. I think I remember you telling me that you guys do melodramas on San Juan Capistrano's history itself.
Exactly. We do melodrama every March. And this one is a melodrama that I wrote, and it was based on the story of Modesta Avila. She was an Indian and a woman, but she owned property. But the men just did not respect her at all. And but she owned property close to the where the train depot is. And when they put the train through, the railroad company paid everybody but her for the right of way. But because she was an Indian and she was a woman, they just went right over her property. They just ignored her. And in protest, she put her clothesline across the train track, and she was arrested for obstructing the train, and it was a federal crime, and she ended up in a penitentiary. And this story the historical story is that she got pneumonia and died in prison. But the interesting thing is, when we were researching this, we did not find any evidence of her death. Now, she was Catholic, so she would have certainly gotten a proper burial had she died, even if she was a prisoner, because that's so important for the church. The prisoner has to keep accurate records of the prisoners, and there was no record of her death there. So we decided to do a little twist on this, and we decided that Judge Egan, who was a benefactor of particularly the Indians, he would sign a notary thing for them and stuff like that. He wasn't a judge, but everybody respected him very much for everything. And we decided that Judge Egan managed through his connections to break her out of jail and set her up for to live a happy life someplace else.
Wow.
Now, we have no idea whether that happened or not.
I hope that's what happened.
But we like to think that's what happened to Modesta Avila.
Oh, that is so interesting.
So
and you guys made a play about it.
Yeah, that was San Juan's Dirty Laundry. First year that we were in the theater, late one night, I was working on the set, right in this area, and I had a platform that I had built, and I was working with a screw gun, and I was here all by myself, and I heard a rustle of a dress, a skirt, and I thought, well, who's coming in now, and why didn't I hear the door open? But I was focused on this, so I thought, well, whoever it is will come in and say hi. And then I smelled this lavender perfume, the perfume that when I was a little kid, it was what we would always get Mother for Mother's Day, and it's an old-fashioned kind of a strong lavender perfume.
Wow. And
I got that distinct, and I thought, who in the world is wearing that old-fashioned perfume? And so I stopped and looked, and I was probably right about in here, and I looked over here, and the lady in white came through the door, paused right about here, and then just disappeared through the wall. And I'm not a believer in ghosts, but I heard, smelled, and saw it. And I wasn't drinking. I was just busy working.
did you recognize her?
Well, I didn't even know the story of the lady in white. But there is a story of a ghost here in San Juan, and people refer to her as the lady in white. And there's all kinds of stories about that she was jilted at the altar, and that she was married and then her husband was killed, and all kinds of things like that.
Wow.
But there's this lady in white that people see around town, and I didn't even know that story at that time. I've since read a lot of the ghost stories about town, and matter of fact, I tell a bunch of the ghost stories on Halloween over on Los Rios Street. But that wasn't anything that I even knew. We had one of the ghost hunting groups decided they were going to spend the night here, and we set them all up. And they set microphones around, including in my shop. And one of the things that they picked up in that shop, which was absolutely, and they assured me that they were all in the green room back there in the control room. They weren't wandering around. They just had these things sitting up there. There was a sound of someone coming in, and they picked up a board and did this to the floor, which is what you often do, just make sure it's solid, when you get a feel for it. And then you heard them lay it on the sawhorse and a hand saw, sawing the board. It was all on the sounds there in my scene shop.
That's amazing.
And I was blown away when I heard that.
Did the ghost know that you guys were running a little tight on the schedule and trying to help you out?
Trying to help me out, maybe that was it. But anyway, yes, we do have the haunts here.
I'm scared.
This area right here would have been the guard shack.
The guard shack.
Yeah. Well, the guard was to check the time. Everybody had to have their cards, you know, to come and go.
The tickets.
No, not for the plays, but for the when it was the switching center for the telephone company. You had to have your badge to get into work, and that was where they would check it.
Right here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Miss Scott?
My wife, she and I were married in 1970, and I was involved in theater. She wasn't, but when I was president of a group, and I think our second date, I brought her to the show, and so she got interested in theater because of the things that I was doing in theater, and later on, as our life progressed, we were in the basically the Los Angeles area. We were living up the valley at the time, and she enrolled at Pierce College and then transferred later on to UCLA and got a degree in theater arts. And then this is the third theater group that she was a founder.
Wow.
And so she's been very interested in theater for I guess since we met, and I got her involved in theater.
The Camino Real Corporation was in 1989.
Yeah, we got our nonprofit papers in December of 1989.
And then you got the Adobe in around 91.
Yeah, 91, 92 is when we got into the old building here. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And this was her third one then? Her third corporation?
This would be the third theater that she started. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That concludes another episode of Running Through History with Nick Johnston. We started in San Clemente, hit the Cabrillo Playhouse, ran all the way over to here, San Juan Capistrano, and talked about the Camino Real Playhouse, where we also met Tom Scott himself, the founder of Camino Real Playhouse, had a full-on tour and interview. Today was the best. Oh, no. I love this horse. Like and subscribe and hit that bell button so that you are notified when Nick Johnson posts another Running Through History episode, because 2020 is gonna be great. And remember, history's awesome.